The Catholic Morning Show.
It's Iowa Catholic Radio. Delighted to have you with us this morning. I'm Bo Bonner with Matt Wilkham and Ayden Pugh. All of us grateful you stopped in with us here on the Catholic Morning Show. May the rest of your day and the rest of your week be blessed. Make sure to join us tomorrow. We'll have, of course, Deacon Randy Keel getting us ready for the weekend. But in addition, Robert Peake and Steve Haveman all ready to go to have a wonderful show with you. Just a few notes on things coming up in and around the Iowa Catholic Radio listening area. Of course, we were just talking about Deacon Randy Keel coming up on February 25th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. This is going to be at St. Mary of Nazareth Church in Des Moines. When Low Becomes Too Low, an evening of powerful positivity. We, of course, have the wonderful Deacon Randy Keel, who gave a talk about that from Cardia Counseling. So that's one way that you can make sure to be a part of all that's going on. Then, of course, we have been speaking about it multiple times, but, time's running out. Valentine's Day, unforgettable. Bella Notte, a beautiful evening at St. Luke's Green Gala. That's February 14th. So go to SLTE.org to make sure to get around for that. You got Youth 2000 coming up February 13th through 15th. Go to dmdiocese.org, Youth 2000 for that. And then, of course, the Forge Conference, who we were talking to one of the speakers earlier this show. That's going to be February 28th. You can go to myforge.org/conference to make sure to get registered for that. Right now, let's turn to our final guest of the day. We have Pierre Ferragu, French-American, leading independent financial analyst and lead producer for the new musical Bernadette the Musical, premiering here soon in Chicago in the United States. Pierre, thank you for coming on the Catholic Morning Show.
Thank you for having me.
It is wonderful to have you with us. Now, this musical has played in France already for a while. This is a new English version that's going to be landing here in the United States. So just before we even get started and going deeper into it, when is this premiering, and where can people find out if they want to go watch the premiere or any of the shows here in the United States?
Yes, so our first run is going to be in Chicago, as you mentioned, at the Athenaeum Center. It's in Lakeview, and we are very excited to host the opening night next week on February 19th. And if you want to buy tickets, if you want to support the show, you can go on our website, www.bernadettethemusical.com. That's the best place for you to know more about the run in Chicago. We're going to be in Chicago until the middle of March, maybe until the end of March, because interest is very high and mounting. So we'll have a lot of representations. And then our hope after the first run is to tour the show in the country. And as our tour gets organized, information is going to come on our website as well.
Now, of course, this is very providential. You're on the show today on the Feast of Our Lady of Lourdes. Can you tell us why it is that this story and the story of Bernadette and her vision and the miracles associated with that, why was this something that appealed to you to put forth the effort to see this come to life?
I would say this wasn't like a personal initiative. Providence really brought that adventure to me. It all started in 2015 in France. A musical producer who had a lot of difficulty with his show went to the sanctuary, to the shrine in Lourdes, and spent a day there and prayed. And on the way back, as a joke, he told his business partners, well, if we make it through this show, the next one, we should tell the story of Bernadette. And then they came back to Paris, and their show started and ended up being one of the most successful shows of the decade in France. And then after that, they said, well, I think we should do it. And they started working on what the musical about the little Bernadette could look like. And it was, simply discovery after discovery. As they dug into the historic records we have about the little girl, the letters she wrote to her friends and parents, and the letters she received, and all the interrogation, all the minutes of the interrogations she had with the police, with the church, really describe a beautiful soul, a beautiful little girl, 14 years old, very witty, lots of very good sense of humor, and who has such a beautiful and inspiring attitude that it actually became very, very easy to make the story of Bernadette in a very faithful way, historically. Like all the dialogues in the show come from historic records. Her relationship with her dad, with her priest, with the police, with the civil administration, all that comes from all these historic records we have. And just telling the story of Bernadette makes at the same time a very beautiful piece of entertainment where people can come and enjoy great music and laugh and cry with the little Bernadette and her parents and her friends and her priest. And at the same time, this gives us an opportunity to just, bring the story to the world. And you remember, you probably know that when Bernadette was challenged by adults, she always said one thing. The lady told me the lady asked me to tell you, not to convince you. And the show, with us, and that's the way I live it, does exactly the same thing. It's just telling the story of Bernadette in a way that can be enjoyed by everybody, by anybody. It's a very universal show. It's really written for everybody. And the more people watch it, the more people get the opportunity to hear the story and then take it from there.
Yeah, and I mean, that to me is the sort of amazing thing, right? It's one thing to understand how compelling a story can be. Like you say, it's always helpful when the people involved themselves, like you say, are witty, or they have, the dialogue available just in the sort of actual historical record. But to make it a musical, of course, that's one level up. What do you think it was that allowed for this next step for it to be a musical and come to life with music that made that possible, both in the French edition and the English edition?
That's really it's a very, very moving character of Bernadette. You cannot not fall in love with this little girl when you discover her and listen to her story. So making this little character tell her story and sing it creates like very, very strong, instant emotional bonds. So really the character of Bernadette is the cornerstone of the musical itself. And then imagine the setting, a small town in France, a few hundreds inhabitants, a little girl, 14 years old, from the poor family in town, comes back from a grotto and tells a story that is objectively unbelievable. Like she said, she saw a lady in this grotto in the woods along the river, and after 3 weeks, you have several thousand people following the little girl, going to the grotto, where she sees something that nobody else sees. And so you can imagine putting that onto a stage, directing singers and a choir. That creates a beautiful piece of art. And we have a fantastic creative team. The music that was written, the songs that were written, really brings that incredible 3 weeks that happened in Lourdes in the middle of the 19th century. And yes, it's like, again, as I said, just sticking to the historic reality of the story made it very easy to make it a beautiful piece of entertainment.
Absolutely. Well, we have about a minute or so left in the interview. I think one of the most interesting parts of this is to have an entire run in France, in French, and then to make that translation, when it's all fresh on everybody's mind, as it were, into English, and to allow this now to have its run in the United States. That process, how did that strike you? The difference between the French and the English versions, but also maybe that the story is so compelling about how that was a work of love to be able to translate it and bring it into a new country so that the people here can enjoy it as well.
Yes, absolutely. I think you are spot on. The musical was created in France. It ran first in Lourdes, then it toured France, and it was very successful in France. despite the fact that, France is actually a very secularized country, we could still bring the story of Bernadette and make it like a very, very broad success. And then the artistic team still had that piece of work very fresh in their mind, and then we added English-speaking talents to the team, and we immediately completely reworked the piece into English. And also to adapt it, to the local style of a musical. A musical in France doesn't look like a musical on Broadway, and so we adapted it to Broadway. And I'm extremely enthusiastic about the quality of the musical we came up with. And I can only, remember what happened to another French musical 40 years ago. That was also about a beautiful faith story. That's Les Mis. And the French version of Les Mis was a good show, and when it was translated into English, adapted to English, it became a fantastic show. And I surprise myself sometimes dreaming that maybe the same fate is awaiting our musical on Bernadette, and it would be such a beautiful thing to make this little girl like a hero for our time.
Well, we are definitely rooting for that success because this is such an important and wonderful work. Bernadette the Musical, premiering February 19th in Chicago. You can go to BernadetteTheMusical.com. That's BernadetteThe, BernadetteTheMusical.com. Pierre Ferragu, who is the lead producer for Bernadette the Musical. Pierre, thank you for coming on the Catholic Morning Show.
Thank you for having me. God bless you.
Listen to the Catholic Morning Show weekdays at 7 a.m. Central on the Iowa Catholic Radio Network, iowacatholicradio.com, or the Iowa Catholic Radio app.